Mr. Roberts, you can begin your cross-examination. Oh, actually, we'll recall. Yeah, sorry. How to do that. Ms. Vander Ark? You're reminded you are still under oath.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Vander Ark. Now, Mr. Johnson kind of tried to shortchange you a little bit earlier in your earlier in his direct examination when he wanted to talk about your background, your schooling.
Yes,
Remind the jury again of your educational background.
I have a Bachelor of Science degree, magna cum laude, and then I also have a Juris Doctorate, it's a law degree, that I graduated magna cum laude, second in my class.
And magna cum laude, for those that might not be familiar, means with the highest honors, correct?
Yes, sir. In law school, actually, Summa only goes to number one. At the college level, it's above a certain GPA, but for law school, only number one gets Summa, and then above a certain GPA gets magna.
And then below that is even cum laude, which is what Mr. Johnson tried to say you were,
Yes,
and
sir.
I think you corrected him and made sure the jury understood, no, you were second in your class in law
Yes, sir.
school, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you took the bar exam,
I did.
passed the bar exam
First try, yes, sir.
with a very high score, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that score?
182 out of 200.
Bar exam is an incredibly difficult test to pass, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. And it was like 400 hours of study that went into that.
And the pass rate for it usually hovers somewhere around 60%. So 4 out of 10 people that take it usually fail, right?
I did not know that, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay. But you understood it to be a very difficult test when you
yes,
took it.
yes.
And I believe that score would constitute the highest score for that time that you took the bar, right? Your score.
I mean, I don't know. I would assume so.
And you also were magna cum laude in undergrad as well for your
Yes, sir.
bachelor's degree?
Yes, sir.
And where did you obtain your bachelor's degree
Liberty
from?
University.
You had an opportunity to actually work in this very courthouse for a period of time, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I did my law school externship, and then after I graduated law school, I stayed on as an intern. It wasn't paid, but the experience was invaluable to me, so it was worth it.
And particularly the field that you were working when you were working here, you worked under Judge Smedley, one of
Yes,
our
I
other
did.
circuit court judges, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your area of focus that you wanted to really focus in on was appellate criminal work, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had an opportunity to work on some cases here in Muskegon?
I did. Yes, sir.
And eventually that turned into an opportunity to go work for another judge in another county, correct?
Yes, sir.
Up in Newaygo County?
Yes, sir. For another circuit judge.
Right, and you were doing the same type of work there?
Yet even more work than what I was doing here, more specific. I didn't do the sentence scorings here, and I did that there. I helped Judge Smedley write one opinion while I was here, but I actually drafted most of my judge's opinions as law clerk.
It's quite the responsibility that you had there, so congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir.
And remind the jury again, how many children do you actually have?
I have 5 total.
Okay, and again, we're not gonna name the youngest, little man, I think you
Little
call
man,
him.
yes. Nolan is 23 and married. Paul is 21 now. Millie, my only daughter, is 19. She's in college in Oklahoma, as far as I know. I haven't talked to her in a long time. Timothy he would be 17. He was 15, a month shy of 16, and then little man just turned 9 in September.
And with the exception of Timothy, no harm has come to your children in terms of them, dying as a result of malnutrition and starvation, has it?
No, not at all.
Dehydration, hypothermia,
No, sir.
none of those inflicted on any of your other children.
No, sir. They're all healthy.
Detective Peasky, at the time he interviewed you, I think attempted to get some photos of Timothy from your phone, and you told him that you had no photos on your phone of him from January on, did you?
I had one from January, but after that, no, I didn't have any.
But you had a functioning phone.
I did, yes, sir.
You used it to monitor the cameras that we've talked about, the motion sensors, all that stuff. You had the ability to use a phone that was your own personal phone,
Yes,
right?
sir, that was my phone.
It wasn't a work phone where there was a
no.
restriction to say, well,
No.
you can't take photos, anything
No.
of that nature, was it?
No.
So you certainly had the ability to have photographs of your child on your phone,
I
right?
did, yes, sir.
Let's talk about some of your health issues, because you listed quite a few issues that you're, in terms of your diagnosis and health issues that you had. I think you said ADHD, something called sensory processing disorder,
OCD,
OCD, those
PTSD.
PTSD. I guess I would kind of classify those more as almost, I don't want to use, I'm not using this word in a negative context, because those are almost more mental disorders. Would you
Yes, sir.
agree with me
Yes, sir.
about
No, I agree with that.
that? Right. You also had some physical disabilities as well.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if Mr. Johnson went into those, so why don't you
He didn't.
tell the jury what your physical disorders are as well?
I have allergy-induced asthma. I am allergic to almost everything environmental other than animals, every different type of pollen and mold and weeds. And then I am a reactive hypoglycemic. I have been my whole life, but it was actually after Timothy was born. It got much worse. And they finally figured out right after I moved here what was going on. But it required, I can eat, and my blood sugar will still crash. So I can pass out, I can be doing whatever and just pass out. So,
And if I'm not mistaken, you actually, I had the opportunity to meet a very, very nice, but very large dog. You had a service animal when you worked here, didn't you?
yes, sir, I did.
Gemini.
Gemini, yes.
And Gemini's function as your service dog was what?
He was scent trained to pick up your blood sugar smell. If you've ever been around a diabetic, when their sugar's high enough, they put off this hubba bubba bubblicious smell. Well, we, as humans, we can't pick up the low blood sugar smell, but a dog can actually pick up your sugar going up about 20 minutes before we can. And they can pick up the low blood sugar. So he was scent trained. He would let me know when my sugar was about to crash. So I always carried orange juice with me, and that would keep my blood sugar up for 2.5 to 3 hours guaranteed. And then he was also trained if I ignored his alert, and this did happen at work a couple of times. He was trained, he was off leash. He was trained to go and get somebody to bring them to me to make sure I took care of it so I didn't pass out.
It's just remarkable that dogs can do that. That's just
It
an
is.
aside. And was Gemini the first service dog you had on?
No, sir. He was my second,
Okay, and so you had one before Gemini,
did.
and then
one after.
one after, and that was Sharma? Is that
Sharma,
right?
yes, sir. He was another Great Dane.
Another Great Dane, okay.
I like the
Um,
big dogs.
So you are certainly, you are keenly aware of your health issues and the things that you need to do to address your health issues, right?
At times, I don't take great care of myself. I will admit that.
And the fallback to that is you have a dog that will
It
alert
does.
you if your blood sugar gets low.
Yes, yeah.
So you understand that so you have a backup plan.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
So if I forget to eat or my blood sugar gets too low, then my dog is going to alert me to that, so I've got a backup plan,
Yes,
right?
sir.
But you understand how that works. You understand
Yes, sir.
the medical need to have those things treated.
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And the need to have your other issues that we talked about, get treatment for those issues as well, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Sensory processing disorder involves basically overstimulation, right?
Yes, sir.
And you suffer from a disorder which causes you to become overstimulated with audio and visual stimuli, correct?
That's part of it, yes, sir. It can be stress-related as well.
But as a punishment for your child, you decided that hot sauce, audio alarms, cold, we'll get into this later, but cold, at least cold, if not ice baths, and isolation and sensory deprivation were appropriate means of punishment. Is that your testimony? Those
Yes,
were
sir.
appropriate forms of punishment?
For some of it, yes, sir.
You also train service animals, correct?
I do.
And when you train service animals, is crate training involved at all?
Yes, it is usually.
And explain what crate training is to a jury.
It depends on what you're using it for. Usually it's part of house training to begin with. And when the service animal in training is very young, you don't get to take them with you 24/7. So you don't want to leave them unattended a lot of times. Plus, putting a dog in a crate, a lot of times that's comforting to them. They like the more enclosed space. So it keeps them contained, keeps them from being destructive, and it teaches them, like for house training, it'll teach them not to do anything in their house, basically, where you take them outside and where they do their business.
And one of the ways you make them feel comfortable in their crates, and so it's their house, is they have a blanket or something of comfort in the crates, right?
I don't usually, at least not for house training, because then they could actually do their business on that and shove it to the back of the crate. So I don't usually put anything in there.
But that is a method that some people do
use
employ.
it.
for
Some
crate
people
training,
use it, yes, but I don't.
right? There's a lot of text messages, we had a lot of testimony from Paul yesterday and a lot of photographs about Timothy's small room. That was basically like a crate, wasn't it?
I don't believe it was that enclosed, but he asked for a space that he could close the door.
He asked to go into that?
He asked for he asked for somewhere he could, some place he can go in and close the door. And it was actually half joking. I was like, that's all I've got. because the other rooms were taken, and there was no way he was sharing with Paul, and I didn't really want him sharing with little man either.
But you didn't set that up as a room for him, did you?
Not originally, no. He was actually out in the lower area for a while.
But you didn't put a bed in there. You didn't put
We
a
did
mattress
originally,
in
yes.
there.
He tore it up.
Okay, but there was no mattress, nothing of comfort for there in him the day before he died, was there?
Not that day, no. He had torn it up. I couldn't afford to get another one.
You put a blue tarp in there, didn't you?
That was what was on the mattress previously, yes.
And the tarp was because he would wet himself.
Yes, sir. Because I tried the mattress covers, I tried plastic, I tried some of the rewashable, and he kept tearing them up.
So his place of comfort was a closet with a blue tarp. Is that what you want the jury to believe?
He spent some time there. I wouldn't say that was a place of comfort. I mean,
Spent some time there. Well, let's get into that. He slept in there most nights, didn't he?
After, I don't know when exactly. It was, I mean, I know it was after my husband's stroke. I don't know when after that, but once he'd asked for that, yes, he did.
In fact, he rarely even slept on his bed, did he?
He had taken the bed apart and lost some of the bolts. It wasn't safe for him to sleep up there.
So the bed that we see on those pictures, it wasn't even safe to be used?
No.
So it was a complete lie when you told the police officers that you had to pull him off the bed to put him on the ground to do CPR, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was a complete lie when you told 911, I need to put you on hold so I can take him off the bed to perform CPR, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. I don't even remember.
So in all your days, all your confusion, all your blacking out, tunnel vision, all that, you were able to somehow remember. I ought to tell everybody that Timothy was sleeping on a bed. Remember doing that?
Vaguely, yes, sir.
Have you ever given hot sauce to the dogs, to train the dogs?
I have put it on a couple of objects to keep them off of objects, yes.
Keeps
actually.
them away from it, right?
Yes, it does.
Right, because they don't want to eat the hot sauce.
Mm-mm.
So you never actually grabbed a dog, forced its mouth open, and poured hot sauce down its throat, have you?
No.
Never put hot sauce on a piece of food and then fed it to them, make them eat it, have you?
No, because I don't give my dogs human food. You can't do that with service animals.
No, but you could put it on dog food, couldn't you?
I guess I've never even thought about that, honestly.
So it never occurred to you to use hot sauce, enforcing the use of hot sauce on a dog, but it occurred to you to use that as a form of punishment for your 14-year-old child?
It was Paul's idea, but yes, I was at my wit's end at that time.
It was Paul's idea, and you thought, yep, that sounds like a good idea. I think we'll do that. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember the exact conversation, but I said, like I said, at that point I was willing to try anything. I was.
We'll get into the text, but there's dozens of texts in here, and this is just a small section of text where you tell Paul, put more hot sauce on the bread. Give him 4 slices of hot sauce. Do you remember those text messages?
Some of them, not very many, but some of them.
Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't punish a dog with hot sauce, but it's okay to punish a child with it.
Objection, Your Honor. That's
I'll move on. Would you stick a dog in an ice bath as punishment?
That would never occur to me. But then having big dogs, I don't bathe them at home anyway. I use dry shampoo, or I take them somewhere else. I don't have a
I'm
facility.
talking about as a form of. I'm not talking about giving them a bath. I'm talking about using.
I don't have
as
space.
a form of punishment, putting a dog in an ice bath.
I don't have space to do that, so I wouldn't think of that because I don't have space with that size dog.
You're saying if you had a large enough tub to punish one of the dogs, you'd put him in an ice bath?
I can't imagine doing that, but
You can't imagine doing that, right?
correct.
You can't imagine punishing an animal by putting him in an ice bath.
Because animals can't think the same way humans can.
So it's okay to do it on a human because they can think, right? They can think better than dogs can, so it's okay to put them in an ice bath. Is that what your testimony is? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Is it okay to put a human in an ice bath because they can think better than dogs can, but you wouldn't do it to a dog?
I mean, based on the way you asked that, I guess the answer would have to be yes, but it's just it's not
Okay.
the way I think, so.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you said you wouldn't do it for a dog, but we know you did it as a punishment for Timothy.
I never did personally.
But you told Paul to do it.
Yes. A couple of times.
And it never occurred to you, this is not a good idea. We shouldn't be doing this, right?
No, because it was the amount of ice was almost, it was non-existent, so.
So it's okay as long as it's not a lot of ice in the ice bath? Is that your testimony?
If it doesn't affect the temperature much.
Starts off as cold anyway, doesn't it?
Not originally. I don't know down the road, but originally that's not what I had told him to do. Because the first time that happened was before my husband's stroke. It was, Timothy had, we noticed there was no hot water. And we were like, what the heck? And I went down and I'm looking and I noticed the pilot light's not on the water, it's a gas water heater. I'm like, what on earth is going on?
This ends with Timothy turning off the gas, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
This part of the story, okay.
And he lied about it for 2 days, but.
Let me just make sure I understand then. Is it your testimony that you put ice in an otherwise hot bath to cool it down?
Yes.
Why don't you just start with warm water to begin with?
I honestly don't know. But that's what happened the first time.
So if you repeatedly refer in these text messages to them as cold and or ice baths, but that's what it was at the end, wasn't it? Cold baths or ice baths,
At
right?
the end, yes, sir, but not the first time.
Not the first time. You apparently needed ice to cool down a hot.
I have no idea what I was thinking. We'd all had to have cold showers for 2 days, and he'd lied to us about the water heater. I'd had to have the gas company out.
You remember taking the law school exam test?
The LSAT? Yes. Yeah. Oh, I hated that test.
Oh, I did too. Yeah, I agree with you there. There's a section on there that's about logic and reasoning, right?
Yes, sir.
And I kind of explained it to my friends as it's the, so-and-so can't sit next to so-and-so at a party, and this person can't sit on this side of the table, and this, so you have to map out all those things, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing you scored pretty high on the LSAT, didn't you?
I scored pretty well. I mean, I got a scholarship to law school, so.
So for a test that serves your interest for getting into law school, you have no problem using logic and reasoning, do you?
I mean, I managed to score on it. I hated that test. I know I did not miss a single, there's a logic games section. I think I missed one question on that out of 25. And I think the reading comprehension was also something like that. So I think the lowest score was actually on the logical reasoning.
And yet somewhere before the time your husband had a stroke, logic told you that you should use ice in a hot bath. Is that your testimony?
Yes, sir.
But then after that, you do acknowledge that it was cold and or ice baths.
Yes, sir.
And that you encouraged Paul to pour water on Timothy, didn't you?
Just the one day.
Just the one day?
Yes, sir.
Which day was that?
The day before he passed away.
Now, Mr. Johnson asked you some questions about homeschooling and not ever taking Timothy to a doctor. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said that the reason you couldn't do that is because you couldn't get your ex-husband to help you out with signing over custody. Do you remember that?
Correct. Yes, sir.
The truth is, you were, by court order, not allowed to have custody of Timothy, weren't you?
That's correct. But I was offered the option of either taking him or they were going to put him in foster care. And I didn't want my son in foster care. I don't think anybody would.
But there was a court order that said you are not allowed to have custody of Timothy. I'm not talking about a custody agreement. I'm talking about a court order that says you can't have custody of Timothy.
My understanding of the order that you're talking about, it wasn't that I couldn't, it's just that I didn't get custody that time.
Oh, no.
Mr. Weaver, we're going to excuse the jury. At this time, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hold on. All right, we're back on the record. We're going to go ahead and excuse the jury at this time. Thank you. All right, may be seated. All right, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would submit to the court that the way that those questions were just answered, it was really just a very simple yes or no question. And we covered this, and Ms. Vander Ark was present when we covered this, and the court was very limited in what it wanted me to ask, and I asked that question. And she tried to explain it away by saying that she was then offered a chance to take custody or have the child go into foster care. We know that's not true. And I think that gives me fair game at this point to ask her, isn't it true that you were actually subject to a petition to terminate your parental rights, and the only way that was withdrawn was because you agreed to give up and not have custody of Timothy?
Sir Johnson.
May I ask my client a question? Did you hear the conversation we had about the custody situation and the judge's ruling on that?
Yes, sir.
What did you think that meant? What do you think his ruling on the custody question, whether you could have legal custody of your child, meant? What did you think that meant?
Could you rephrase that? Because I didn't interrupt that conversation, but while y'all are having that conversation, I mean, my understanding of the exit order, the order you're talking about, was not the way it's been characterized. And I mean, from what Mr. Roberts just said, that was not my understanding of how that case ended.
Okay.
So.
All right, so, Your Honor, my response is this. I want that conversation because I want the court to have an opportunity to determine for herself if my client understood the instruction. Clearly, she did not. Clearly, the way she processes information is different, and she did not understand that she was not allowed to go into those other details. Quite frankly, she sat right here and she heard Your Honor say, this is how far we're going to go. This was clearly a yes or no answer. The rest of that conversation, those responses were not. I would agree with the people were not in keeping with the spirit of the court's order. They didn't get a lot of detail, but they clearly weren't in keeping. I would suggest, Your Honor, that my client be re-explained the limitations of her conversation on that issue, and that there be a corrective instruction given to the jury. I would disagree that we've gone so far into it. I think the court stopped us before we got to that point where it's opening a door that allows evidence in that's more prejudicial than probative. I don't think we're at that point yet. That's my opinion. So I would ask for a re-explanation from my client as to how far she can go in answering this question, and a corrective instruction to the jury.
Mr. Roberts?
You can't ring the bell, Judge, just because the witness decided to answer the question how she wanted to answer the question. That's like saying, well, I want to take back the answer now because I don't like what happened when I answered it. It's not fair. It's not fair to the prosecution. She's a law student. She's just sat up here and explained how she graduated second in her class in law school and passed this bar with a score of 182. She sat through this entire trial. She's been taking notes. She's been actively participating. She's trying to answer the questions the way she wants to get her point across, plain and simple. And the court's order couldn't have been any more explicit that it was a yes or no question about, isn't there a court order prohibiting you from having custody of the kids? I get to come back and explain now why she's sitting here saying that she thinks the order said, well, whenever you want custody back, if you want to take custody or the child goes into foster care, you can do that.
All right, well, before I make it...
I'm sorry, I didn't cut the court off. I apologize. I would just offer the court, I'm prepared for limiting instruction to the jury, that they don't consider this as any type of character evidence or anything of that nature. I think that's perfectly appropriate. But this is a mess of her own making at this point.
All right, well, before I make a ruling, I didn't hear her exact answer because I was in the middle of trying to look at Mr. Johnson and say maybe we stop this. So before I make a ruling, I want to hear exactly what her answer was. So I'm going to take a recess. I'm going to look at the record and make a finding. So, yep, we're in recess.